The cats were yelling at me. They wanted their walk. I'm like, okay, I'll take them for the walk. I don't make video every time I walk the cats. It's only when something happens. And I think I just have this impression, I don't know, that I only ever talk about horrible, terrible, negative things. Then again, I have a personality disorder. Horrible, terrible, negative things. How many are coming? 1, 2, 3, 4. And my 5th cat is the stealthy one, so probably he is coming too, and I just don't know. So, yeah. They really did all want to come. They don't normally all come. Especially the girls, the 2 black cats. Oh, yeah. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's Mr. Stealthy. There's... Yeah, all 5 of them are up here. Pence is up there. Come on, Pence! That's wild. I don't know. Something's up with the cats, actually. Poppy, my big guy, woke me up in the middle of the night with a mouse in the house. Ooh, some sort of bug. I don't want to know what it is. That was fun. I'm beating around the bush. So here's what happened. Oh, there's people. Maybe I'll just wait a second before I start talking. I'll just, be hanging with the boys. Look at him. He is being protective because somebody turned the lights on down there. Get in between me and the lights. He's a very protective cat. He's really hilarious. There are chickens, my neighbors have chickens, and cats don't like chickens because, of course, they've got the spurs on their feet, and they could easily gut a cat and kill them, so they just not keen on it. Do you hear my cats? I think that's Pansy. She shouldn't go on these walks anyway. She has a bad heart. Anyway, so cats don't like chickens, and he hates chickens, even though he'll go after anything. But and the chickens, of course, really like people because they've been tamed. They know that people equals food. So if the chickens see me in the yard, they'll come over, and he will go bluff himself out and start hissing and spitting at the chicken. Get in between us. Protect me from the chickens. Good cat. I think I'm past the people. 1, 2, 3. I see 4. I think Pix has gone off into the woods. Why not do some exploring? Pixie, the teeny little black cat, but chased off a buck deer with all its antlers out there, all their glory. So she's probably off being a little badass. So here's what happened. And if you don't like not hearing nice stories, maybe this isn't a video. But again, there's a reason, and I just had sort of a kind of a big understanding of stuff that I've been told by therapists and ignored in the past. It sort of went, just this. So there's a long wind up. Here comes the story, which will be equally long probably. I've been watching this TV show. It was recommended. It's on Netflix. It's a really good show, actually. It's called Peaky Blinders. And it's about a gang in England in like the 1920s or so. But they're gang, and so pretty violent. And in the episode I saw today, one of the characters was garroted. Attempted murder. And they do not pull their punches on this show. I mean, it is ridiculous. It's so over the top. It's one of the reasons why it's so good, is that these actors are like really laying it on all the time and just going there. Yeah. So they were making it very, very graphic and real. And warning. And somebody actually said, you know, I don't like hearing about you talk about your kid. Sorry. But that is what my son used to do to me. And it was kind of normalized. And he kept getting taken out of the house. First he did like about 6 months in an inpatient treatment thing. It was like a family treatment thing where he had to live there and I had to go be with him supervised, where they could try to have us learn how to interact, and didn't really work. And then we had this in-house therapy, which was sort of the same thing. There were 2 therapists that were coming to the house for hours every day, into my house, to watch our every interaction and try to get me to not be afraid, and also especially not to take blame for him, and for him to basically interact in a decent way. I know it's a sad story, Pop. And finally he turned 18 and he was home, and same thing, that's his thing. He goes for somebody's throat. I don't know where the hell he learned that. Internet? I don't know. He either chokes people with their hand or comes behind them with a string of some sort around their throat, around their neck. Oh, do we want to get Perry? Are we waiting for Perry? Yeah? Is that the problem? We're waiting for Perry. So, I'm sorry if that was never clear, that is the extent of, I mean, that's why he was out. When, you know, finally he turned 18, he did the same stupid thing. The police showed up and they basically gave us a choice. That was, he's to move out and to never live in the house with me again, or he's going to jail, period, take your pick. And what we chose was for him not to live with me anymore. And he was taken immediately to a homeless shelter, which I was just like shocked. I thought he would go back to the hospital. And they said no, because he was only a danger to me He was not a danger to anybody else. And if he was kept away from me, then he was not, he had his meds as he needed. And it was not a crisis situation. It was him making his choices to attack me. This is just a fact. And so here's the deal. I sort of say in a very flippant way that I reject having multiple diagnoses. I don't see the point in it. I say it's the alphabet soup. It's like people who collect degrees and insist on having their name and then adding all the stupid letters behind for all their stupid degrees they got. And who really gives a crap, right? And who really gives a crap about what your diagnosis is, as long as you're doing something and getting treatment for that diagnosis. For something that works. If it works for you, it really doesn't matter. You don't need to get into the details of it. You don't need a diagnosis. What you need is treatment. And who cares how many different diagnoses you have? It doesn't matter. You've got a primary issue. You have to deal with that. For instance, oh, hi Perry. He just flopped himself down in front of me. I have treatment-resistant depression. Who really cares? I have the depression because of the avoidant personality disorder. If I didn't have avoidant personality disorder, I do not have a chemical imbalance in my head. It is situational that causes my depression. So who cares that I have that? I can't really treat it because I can't make the changes that would make my situation different so that I wouldn't have the depression. I can't do that because of the avoidant personality disorder. So there is no point in treating the depression until the avoidant personality disorder has at least stabilized or whatever they can do to make it better, right? Makes sense? Duh. This is like duh. You can't build a bridge on sand. You have to find bedrock to which build the bridge. This is the way I think about it. And one that I kept just ignoring straight out of hand was PTSD. Hey, give me a break. Okay, first of all, individual PTSD, you know what? Yeah, probably still reject that completely. Except I don't think that's what they were talking about. What? You looking for him again? Or you just want me to shut up? Am I bumming you out, cat? What? You're looking for the other cats. What is the problem? He's such a weirdo. Anyway, maybe I just didn't listen clearly enough. Because if they're talking about complex PTSD, like I said, PTSD unto itself, no, PTSD is some massive one huge event that causes you to have, you just can't get past it. Massive trauma, it gives you flashbacks. You just can't get past it. No, I didn't have that. Give me a break. This was an everyday occurrence. Well, that is a separate thing. That is complex PTSD. Oh, there is Percy, Mr. Stealthy. Complex PTSD is when you have traumatic events that happen repeatedly, over and over again. And then eventually you have so many of these strung together that you have the same reaction as if you had one massive PTSD causing event. And because of that, you don't have just one thing that you could process and address, it's like a multi-head hydra. You cut one off and there's 50, 100 million more, because it isn't just one event, it's over and over and over again. And you do have triggers that just bring you right back. And like I said, I always rejected this. This is stupid. Give me a break. I don't have PTSD. That's what people go to war and they see some terrible thing, people blown up in front of them. Those are people that have PTSD. Not me. I never had, like a massive, huge, traumatic thing. That something that would have happened that would have been so traumatic to me was just slightly above average. It was my standard. It was my normal. So I rejected it. I was like, what the hell is this PTSD thing? I don't have PTSD. Give me a break. Am I repeating myself enough? Has it sunk in exactly how I felt about this? And I was like, complex PTSD. Give me a break. That is not an issue. Who cares? First of all, there was nothing bad enough for me in my life. Classic abuse. You normalize these things. It becomes your standard. It doesn't register to you as trauma because that is your normal average. And there's lots of people who really do have really shit lives that in ways that are different from what I had are much worse. And yet they can recover from it because they do have, a family or a community of people that they can depend on. And I didn't. And that's what makes somebody have avoidant personality disorder. Is that I didn't have anybody to depend on. First of all, we were explicitly told, don't tell anybody this story. I don't believe that I've explained exactly what my kid did. First of all, it's horrible. I might have given somebody flashbacks or, trigger something or straight up new PTSD just describing that. It was not a one-time happening. It was a minimum of a once a week happening that my kid either choked me with his hands or came up behind me with, usually he had like a plastic, thank God it wasn't wire, which is what a traditional garrote is, because a wire would have cut and killed. It was, like, he carried plastic gimp all the time. It was his fidget. He was autistic, and autistic kids have fidget things. That was his fidget thing. It was his, one of the things that they made him do was, first of all, not use plastic, but use thread or ribbon. Not like thread, but like yarn or something like that. And also much, much shorter. Instead of, say, a meter long, he was only, like, for a while there, they would only let him have hair ties that were cut. So, how long is that? Like 3.5, maybe 4 inches? And that's why. Because he couldn't use it as a weapon. It was also thicker. It wasn't like, imagine, say, headphone wires. Except GIMP is flattened. So it does have 2 edges, points. It's like Think of super thin linguine type thing. Thin, small. So it did have an edge. It could cut. If it was like sawed back and forth, it would cut. I know I'm sure this is like the worst thing anybody's ever heard. Like, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I don't know, based on what I've been going through since I saw that on that show and saw it, not experienced it, but saw it happen to somebody else even though it was acting. Like, I can't, this is hard to talk about. I'm supposed to be tough, I'm supposed to be strong. This is the way I was dealt. I'm supposed to deal with this. I'm not supposed to react. I'm not supposed to feel sorry for myself. I'm not supposed to feel empathy for myself at all. And I'm not supposed to be weak and admit that I have any of those feelings of any sort. I'm supposed to be absolutely stoic. But, like, my eyes are leaking all day long. It's not like crying per se, it's just like leaking. It's, yeah. It is low key as much as I can allow myself to react. Definitely reacting from the second I saw that. It was it was a good show. It was really good. It was exciting. Okay, that's a gross word. It was like, it was engaging. I don't usually watch television shows. There's Pixie, the little black cat that goes after deer. She's been off in the woods. Hi. I don't know. Maybe that's why the cats are all over me. I thought they wanted to go for a walk. They just want to say, what the heck is up with you? I mean, that's it. So, yeah, maybe PTSD or CPTSD, complex PTSD, maybe that's a real thing. Maybe that explains a lot. Maybe that's part, like, maybe the biggest part of why I avoid is because everything triggers those memories. Everything. Maybe not that specific, but like with my parents and how every single thing was like a transaction. Everything got pushed into some sort of monetized category with them. Everything was a matter of, well, the time costs money, and my time is worth more than your time, and your time is useless, and wasting your time, you know. I'm kind of compelled to do hobbies that stop the thoughts and stop the ruminating, because I got some nasty ruminations going on, okay? And yet, at the same time, it's like, it's this big cycle. Unless I'm like really into it, really, really focused on my little hobbies that I do. My little hobbies. Look at me diminishing it. Like before and at the end, I've got the thing going on in my head. My mother constantly telling me anything else would be more worthy of my time, and why am I wasting my time doing this? And yet now, my little hobby is a little hobby, but I'm pretty good at it. I've been judged and won multiple times, which is weird. It's like, why would you do that as a person with avoidant personality disorder? I'll tell you why. It's because my son, when he was really little, I read Charlotte's Web to him, and he was obsessed with the idea of getting a pig. And I was like, okay, what you want? No, we're not getting a pig. Why do you want a pig? And he finally said, because he thought it was cool to get a blue ribbon. And I was like, kid, if I can put something and have it judged and win a blue ribbon, is that good enough that you see the blue ribbon? That we don't need a pig. I can do it with something else, right? And he's like, yeah. I was like, okay, let's do this. Put this thing in, get it judged. Well, guess what? I'm kind of good at what I do, And so I kept getting blue ribbons. And I kept getting first place on this stupid hobby that my mother dissed all the time. Guess what? Every single one that won, she would take it and have it in her house and keep it. Even though it was a waste of time. Not really a waste of money, but a waste of time for sure. And actually, my son would come back to me about the money. You spent all this. I'm like, I spent like $20 a year. He's like, oh. Because he's like, God, you get all this stuff, Mom. How come I don't get like video games and everything? And I'm like, okay, do you want the same budget? That's cool. So you get like, say, $15 to $20 a year to spend on video games and video game systems. And that's your hobby compared to my hobby? And he's like, oh, God, yeah. No, Mom. Let's go. I mean, okay, and it's gone up. I think last year I spent almost $40. This year so far I've spent probably that much. So I've doubled my budget, my annual budget on this dumb thing. But every time, every day, it goes into my head. And so that is not a trauma, like a massive, this is the time my mother broke my arm. My mother never broke my arm, by the way. But, I mean, this is what I'm saying. I never had that. I never had these big, huge, massive traumas. I had these little cuts, these little traumas that went on and on and on and on. And now, in my daily life, every single day, I am reminded of just how bad everything that I do is. Whoa. Scary car. I am reminded that I have no worth and that nobody wants anything to do with me. And it's so seated. Now that is complex PTSD. That is affecting and causing me to continue to have avoidant personality disorder. So I'm kind of aware of that now. Unlike the big nasty, this is a trauma, this is abuse. And the little, not even a trauma. This is criticism that has just been so ingrained and so symptomatic and absolutely everything I did that it becomes a trauma. Okay, I get that. I understand that now. I have the words to say that's what that is. I mean, I can't deny it. I want to. I think it's stupid. I can't deny it. It is just what it is. I mean, I've been told it over and over and over, and I ignored it over and over and over again because I don't think I heard it and understood it. And even if I did understand it, I wouldn't have been at the point where I could say, I mean, it was only like 3 years ago, maybe. I don't know, you've seen these videos, that I could start saying what my mother did to me was abuse. So, I don't know, maybe I'm just especially dense. Maybe there's other people that can just like snap their fingers and go, oh, light bulb, and accept it. For me, it takes a long time for me to hear something over and over and over and reject and reject and reject and finally just be like, there's an abundance of proof and examples. This is what it is. Just stop being an idiot and accept truth sometimes. Truth just is. You can't fake and pretend that the truth doesn't exist just because it's inconvenient, just because it's uncomfortable, just because you don't... I mean, especially that sort of thing, because that means then I have to be sympathetic and empathetic toward myself. And that makes me sick to my stomach. And that hurts more. Trying to be kind to myself hurts more than just letting the trauma do its 1,000 cuts a day. It's gross. Sorry, this is probably like the suckingest video, but this is the point of the videos. This is real. This is real experience of what this is. This is real, you know, I wouldn't call it a light bulb moment. It's more like a took the damn bag off my head so that I would actually see instead of insisting I was blind. And continuing to be blind. It's probably the worst metaphor, but it kind of isn't. Do you see the fireflies? I don't know if they're picking it up. I don't know if I should put up this video. On the one hand, it is exactly what I should put up. It is exactly what this channel is supposed to be about. It's explaining this is something that affects you when you have avoidant personality disorder. It's different from avoidant personality disorder, but it's like a layer. It's something for me. It's something I could pick apart and say this is avoidance versus this is something completely different. My personal experience, my understanding. And yet it's horrifying. And it's terrible. I'm afraid I'm going to make, it might make somebody really understand it, like give them a light bulb moment, which is the point. It also might really upset somebody. And I don't know how people are going to take it. I think they're going to be doing maybe a little both. I mean, I've lived with this for my entire life, so it's not a shock to me, but it might be a shock to you. There are people that have had avoidant personality disorder for much less traumatic reasons and for much worse. And generally, people with avoidant personality disorder don't say, hey, this is real. This is what it is. They talk about the effects of it. They don't talk about what living with it really is like. They're even in the middle of the street. I don't know if it's picking them up. They're all over. The fireflies. Anyway, I'm really sorry if this is horrible. I don't know if I'm really going to put this up. I really should. But I really hate the idea of doing it at the same time. And I'm really sorry if I bummed you up. But it might be something that you should look into. They're in the trees. I don't understand. I always thought fireflies were in grass. I don't know. Around here they go into the trees. Anyway, I'm going to end this.